George Costanza of Seinfeld fame claims to have ownership of the line, "It's not you, it's me," in spite of a momentary pause in which he ponders the personal loss such a claim levies on his own emotional health and physical gratification. He refuses to give up his conviction. "That's my line," he insists. One of the things that makes Seinfeld stick, in my opinion, is that they take the ordinary and they push it to the extreme, to the absurd. You know what they say about humor? It makes the truth more palatable. It also blurs the truth just enough so that we don't have to recognize it, especially when the joke is on us. It's not you, it's me. That might be the pandemic mantra in segments of our society where people refuse to do something as simple as wear a mask. It's not about public safety or containing a pandemic. It's about my personal comfort. It's about my ego. I was struck by a back-to-school story that I read in the Burlington Free Press. It's about school athletes and one young woman, a senior and a forward on her school field hockey team. Her name is Lena. She said, "First and foremost, I feel incredibly lucky to be able to play, to be able to see my teammates. This is my favorite time of the year. I'm glad that it's able to happen." In that article in our local paper, other high school athletes, soccer players, for example, noted the inconvenience of wearing a mask. "It makes it harder to see your feet," says one young player. But student after student and coach after coach point to the adjustments that are being made for the sake of safety. And with a sense of gratitude, these adjustments enable everyone to be on the field and in the game. That's so different from the attitude many adults have demonstrated. We do live in a "it's not you, it's me" kind of culture, don't we? A recent New York Times article has a journalist admitting to the temptation he and his peers succumb to as they become the star of the story rather than the harbinger of the news. "We run the risk," writes Ben Smith, "of becoming performance artists for appreciative readers who already agree with us." In other words, media outlets on both the left and the right become more concerned about ratings and subscriptions, and, like the politicians they criticize, they play to their base. This works in multiple directions, with politicians making the issue all about the media rather than policy. The question becomes, how do I remain the star of the show? And the news becomes all about the individual rather than serving the needs of the people. Operators in the subscription business, writes Ben Smith, have found success in telling you what you want to hear and in signaling that they are, in some sense, on your team. What a price we're paying for our extreme individualism, the inability or the unwillingness to recognize the truth that is becoming more obvious every day. It's not you. It's not me. It has to be us. Two factors play with and against each other in our culture. The first might be best summarized by a sermon from Pope Leo the Great, where he compares the poor and the wealthy. In his somewhat stylized approach, he maintains it is easier for the poor to be humble and gentle. The wealthy, writes Leo, tend toward arrogance and pride. Leo offers to the rich the antidote to this pride and arrogance. They should, he writes, spend what they have to alleviate the distress of others. You know, on one hand, Americans are known for our generosity. On the other hand, we're known for our racism and our reticence to provide health care and housing to people who need it. The other factor has to do with the willingness and the ability to govern and be governed. Again, returning to our local newspaper, an interim police chief in Vermont's largest city has resigned, citing as a primary reason for their departure that, quote, too many members of the city council are more interested in social activism than in good governance. Now, George Costanza's quip reveals the complexities we have to navigate together. It's easier to identify the me than it is to identify the us. The ethical and moral questions are these. Do you want to be governed or placated? Do you want a more just world for all or a cushier pad for yourself? Those questions are always lurking in the background. But in our time, they're front and center. And whether we care to admit it or not, how each of us currently answers those questions, well, it's obvious for all our neighbors to see.